And it's a Wednesday, and you are watching Issues at Hand on Church of Uganda Family TV with Bruno Edgar. Thank you for joining us. It's a wonderful time that we are going to spend together, and we are going to talk about a big issue, especially for us city dwellers of Kampala. Thank you for joining us. And if you want to participate, you want to let us feel your presence, and you want to share your opinion, please send us a WhatsApp message on our WhatsApp number. That's 0787447684. The number again is 0787447684, and we shall address your comments and queries. Now, my guest for today on Issues at Hand is Mr. Yasin Ndide, who is the Deputy Resident City Commissioner for Kampala Central. And he is with me because we are going to tackle the issue of security concerns when it comes to the city of Kampala. Mr. Yasin, welcome to Issues at Hand.
Thank you very much, Bruno. A very good morning to our viewers. As introduced, you have rightly introduced me. Yasin Ndide, the Deputy Resident City Commissioner of Kampala Central. I think I'll wish our viewers a fruitful program. And I think the deliberations from this program will lay a lot to the people who we live with, who work in the city.
Definitely. And when it comes to people who work in the city, definitely some of the important people that work in the city are border operators. And and I talk about this because RCC and the office of the RCC and KCC have been involved in a lot when it comes to the census of border operators and the registration, the issue of registration. For example, this week KCCA on Monday started the census for border operators, but the census didn't go as planned, and up to now it has been a flop. In fact, today I spoke to a border operator, and he did actually know that there was a census going on. So there's and this comes from a background of the issue of the registration that was happening. So what is happening with the census, what's happening with the registration, especially when it comes to what KCCA is doing and what the office of the RCC is doing.
At this moment, I would love to thank you and the management of Family TV, because I think why you got such a response from this border cyclist is simply because this whole program has been poorly published, has been poorly handled. So what is going on and what would people need to know? One, there is a border registration that has been ongoing for quite some long time, way back even before I came to the city center. Why was it done? About 3 years back, the National Security Council came up with directives on how we should manage all the public transport sectors. This is why they came up with that marking in the taxis with the number plates in the sideways. However, the biggest problem now that is at hand was with the borders. Time immemorial, we have seen a lot of assassinations in this country, a lot of accidents. When you go to Mulago, and it is an average of around 85% that is attributed to having been caused by borders or by motorcycles. So here they come with a program that, one, for us to try and track down very fast, to reduce all this, we need an organized sector. The program started with the taxis, and I think we have some level of sanity in the taxis as of now. The problems we used to face, the robberies that used to happen with vehicles that used to be termed as taxis, have reduced. Now the worry comes with the borders. I think to our viewers who have seen it in town, we have these days what they term as a galley. Borders collect around 15 to 20, in a group of 15 to 20 But these are not border borders. They are not cyclists that do the border work. What they do, these are robbers, these are thieves. They'll ride towards you, rob you and disappear. Normally, the person robbing you is one who is in the middle. The rest are to do the protection. And in case you just try to confront them, they are capable of doing anything. So how best can we do this? Border borders park anywhere in Kampala. You're seeing how disorganized the city is. So these are things that KCCA and the Ministry of Works are really trying to come up with and see that this industry is organized. We have seen challenges of border borders being registered, but at the same time, they want to be trained. I think this is where the government has got shortfalls now. This is where we are to blame, is we have training companies that are licensed. But why is it that we are having only one that is still functional? That is where we have disparities, where we have problems and questions to answer to the border industry. Otherwise, the border industry has been so responsive. If I'm to give you some little statistics from my office, in the previous exercise that we were doing, I have 17,000 that are already registered. And how does this rhyme with the ongoing registration with KCCA now? KCCA is not doing a registration per se, but is doing a census. Being that KCCA is mandated to plan for the city. Believe me, you cannot plan for people you don't know. You must have a numerical aspect of the people you're planning for. How many borders do we really have in the city center? In case we are to gazette stages, as KCCA is to do, how many can we really accommodate? Where are we putting the rest? This is why you need to know them. And I urge all borders, for those who are previously registered, and you know you had filed everything that was required, the only thing you need to do, just like we do the voter registration, times of politics and what, they do the voter registration, but then there is verification of voters. They pin the lists, come and check whether you're really there. So the border cyclists that had registered prior to this, the only thing they need to do, move to any center that is put, go and try to validate your details. In case there is any that is missing, avail it. Then to those that are not registered before, I think this is a waiver for them. Let's capture them, let's know them, like how it has been done to other informal sectors. That normally this is the first step if we are to streamline, if we are to manage and organize this sector.
That is true. So in saying that KCCA is carrying out a census, does that mean they are not going to carry out a registration process of their own?
Can you really just do a head count without knowing people you're counting?
The census is okay, but now for me my question is on if KCCA is going to have their own registration, because we have seen that the office of the RCC carried out a registration of these motorcyclists.
No. The issue is the nomenclature of the process. Some will call it registration, others will call it census. When they're doing census, when the National Bureau of Statistics is doing census, they'll collect all the details about you. How many children do you have? Who are your spouses? How many relatives? What do you do to earn a living? I think they'll collect all that. That one is a census. And it is the same. It is like registering in this country.
But you're calling it nomenclature, only that this one has its own impact, it had consequences, because the border cyclists that did the registration before had to pay, and yet this census is free of charge.
That is where the disparity comes from. I told you I have over 17,000 cyclists who are registered. The registration of borders has been totally free from the start. However, it was mixed up with the training of borders. Bruno, me and you went to school. the school where you went to, you did not tell them that I'm coming to pay this amount of school fees. They determined what you were to pay. This has been a training company that has been in place, and it is a private company, not government. For all those 17,000 that registered with the RCC's office in Kampala Central, for example, did not pay even a single penny.
But what about the reports of the so-called medical tests and then the fees that they were paying?
That is where
to a tune of 50,000 shillings.
It was a total of 60,000 that has been coming as a complaint to our office. After registering them, they were sent for, because ideally in Uganda it is the only country that is still backwards in terms of this. Someone to get a rider's permit, it is a driving permit. You must be someone who has been trained to operate that particular vehicle. So in Uganda, if you stood on the road and asked for cyclists to produce driving permits, I think you may get zero.
So the question there, that's a good question.
Yes.
Good point, because the question there is why isn't it that the training should come before the registration? If you register that you are border operator and yet you don't have a permit.
Why I don't want to mix this is because what are the intentions for registering? First, the intentions for registering are security based. We want to know who you are, where do you operate from, who is the owner of that motorcycle, which number plate is it, and we shall give you a security feature in case of anything. For example, when we got a bomb blast in Kampala here, one of the cyclists who were involved
on Buganda Road.
Yes, we were able to trace because the cyclist was working with a company called Safe Border, and they had all the details. They even had a tracking device to know that this is the motorcycle that was here at this time. It so happened when you're to compare Uganda and some cities, it happened in Bujumbura, I think, about 8 years back. A rebel went to the city center, withdrew money from the bank and disappeared very swiftly with a border. When they realized it, it was a no-brainer. Said no more borders in the city center. 8 years down the road, they have never stepped there. How about here in Uganda, where someone will come, shoot, assassinate someone, and you fail to trace for them? So why they were coming up with this is basically for security. However, in line with the KCC, they want to streamline, try to reduce the accidents on the road, because some of the people do not know how much government spends if they are responding to accidents. If you're to compare the budget that is put in hospitals, that is put in response teams, if we just had people who are a little trained on the road, we would absolutely try and reduce this. And this is the money that would go to other sectors and help us in development.
Actually, on that point, because on the discussion of border registration and census, there had been majorly two parties involved. That's the office of the resident city commissioner and,
because it is security
KCCA. Yes, so maybe you can alert us on the mandate of the resident city commissioner, what the mandate is vis-a-vis the mandate of KCCA, so that we can understand.
In line with registration?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So the issue is one, the resident city commissioner is a government operative. KCCA is a government agency, so I don't think there is any disparity in their work. However, the resident city commissioner, being that the process has a security component and has an impact on the last person on ground, the resident city commissioner is there to oversee the whole process. Because at times if security is compromised, that is when we shall get problems. Actually, as KCCA is doing all things, we have deployed and we are to verify everything that is being done. The data that was earlier collected, the 17,000 in the central, has been shifted to KCCA to enter it into the system and be able to allocate these people appropriately to different stages in case they are to retain all. So this is the starting point that KCCA has. It is not starting at zero. Actually, I've been hearing that apparently it's a flop. It's not. KCCA already has at hand a 17,000 that is fighting to put into the system.
But yesterday we even had a feature on one of the programs that's on Good Morning Family, where a reporter from Family TV went to a school on ground. There was a venue.
Yes.
Nothing was happening in the venue.
That is why I'm telling you.
The administrators of the school did not even know that there was a census supposed to happen in the school. Who is to blame for that? Why did that happen?
Yesterday we had trainers of trainees being trained also on how to handle this process. Two, they had to look at the data that had been collected earlier and synchronize it before they add in new ones.
But then why did KCCA come out to say that the census is starting when they are not even, when they are still in training still synchronizing this data?
When does a program start? Because when you say we are starting, these are all preparatory phases. But I think as of now, they are ready and they have started.
Because that delay in starting presents a challenge, because the question we have as city dwellers is one, is there enough time for this census to occur? Because the deadline is 30th August.
No.
If there's a delay.
No, there is enough time. Why? We anticipate that we do not have more than 30,000 riders who really dwell in the city. If you already have 17,000 who are not even to repeat but will just go to validate and ensure that the name appears, I think you're good to go.
But how is that so? Because during the regime of Executive Director Jennifer Musisi, they carried out a bit of a census of their own, and they found out there were 400,000 border operators.
You cannot have.
So the figures are, there's a disparity.
No, I'll tell you this. You cannot have 400,000. How many people do you have in Kampala? You have 6 million. 6 million, you cannot have 400,000 borders. How we did this, we said it is open. And because it was free, that is why I was able to come up with such a big number of those who turned up. But 400,000 borders cannot park in Kampala. That's a lie. They cannot park in Kampala. So you just tell them, whoever parks in Kampala, just reach out to the LC1 who is next to you to give you a letter, and you come and register, because that letter is free too.
Actually, on that point, because we are talking about the requirements for the census, that is that letter from the LC1 where the border operator stays or where the border operator operates?
No. When we were doing this work, we had to get details as far as where you come from, where you work, where you come from. We needed to know. And in case there is any shift, for example, for a person working in Kampala, if you're given a particular stage, allocated to a particular stage, that particular stage has a stage chairperson whom you elect your own, has a chairperson of the area of jurisdiction. We have different agencies. We have issue up to the ground. So in case there is any change, in future you'll have to notify the agency that takes you that please, I'm shifting from here, I'm going to another stage, or I'm going to this. In case they cannot allow you, then you'll be moving out of the city.
But in what happens? What should a border operator do if they stay in one place and then they operate in a stage that's different from where they stay? So which letter are they bringing?
They have to produce all, because in Kampala, believe me, we have people who are day scholars. In Kampala, me and you, we work in Kampala, but we stay outside Kampala. So most of these riders come in as far as Wakiso from Matuga, that is still Wakiso. They come, some even ride as far as from Mokono to come and operate in the city. We are not saying that you go out of the city, no. But we are saying, do we know where you stay? In case you committed a crime. You know, something that has been happening in Kampala, we have had lots of violence in Kampala, and we have cyclists attributed to this. So normally what happens, a cyclist comes from Botambala, comes and stages a crime in Kampala, rides back to Botambala. But with the security features that we are coming up with the identification we are coming up with, we shall be able to know that much as you stay in Botambala, you operate from Kampala, because you have something to differentiate you from people who work outside the city. So among the requirements, even where you reside, you will have to declare. You may not be called to bring the state chairperson, but you're presenting your national ID. We are able to track up to your birthplace, because it is a requirement. You're producing the ID, but where you work from, it is a must that the chairperson of that area should be in the know, because this is the chairperson who will supervise you, who will tell us that that boda belongs to this stage. His conduct is this, because we don't know you. They are the people to recommend you.
And in many cases when it comes to government and government programs, there is usually a good intention behind the programs, yes. But a problem that comes in the programs is the implementation of these programs. For instance, today I had a discussion with a boda operator, a rider. I asked him, have you gone for the census? And he asked me, what census? So it seems like there are operators out there who are not aware of the census.
How I wish you asked him.
What is RCC doing to sanitize?
No. How I wish you asked him, did you register? From the time that this census was launched, I've got so many calls. They are quite overwhelming. That RCC, we registered with you. What next? And the answer is, go and validate. However, because they have not really been ready with this data that I had, I think they are now getting ready. You just go and verify, validate in case you need to. In case you don't need and everything is okay, just move on and go and do your own work. We don't want to spend a lot of time. And we have simplified this process. We are putting almost everything at one-stop center. We don't need riders to go over, jump and look for ISO, jump and look for the chairperson of that area. No. We are saying we are putting all of them in one-stop centers. Just come in, put in your details, go back and work. The rest will follow. After the gazetting of the stages, we shall now tell you, please, this is a border free zone. I know this one, you already know why we need a border free zone. Because this is a recommendation by the UN that as we try to fight environmental pollution, we need some areas that are free from these fumes in the cities. And all cities worldwide, it is being implemented. So Kampala is not so different from other countries, and it will be there. So when it comes to the issue of census and registration, what border cyclists need to do, those who had not registered with the previous process, this is a waiver. And this is just to help you. Simply because after gazetting of these stages, I know it will be quite hard for cyclists to access a stage. But this is a process that is just bringing you from zero. Come here. You're not going to the back door. So you better go, register or validate what you had already given us. Then the process moves. I know it will take within 1 week. In Kampala Central, we shall be done.
So now that leads me to my next discussion in terms of sensitization. We want to know as the public, but also I know that there are border operators out there who are watching and they want to know. So what is the way forward in terms, so after the census, what is going to happen and how long will the registration take?
The registration will go on up to the end of this month. However, the issue of gazetting stages is being done concurrently because we are not going to Gazette with the border cyclists. No. Neither does the RCC get involved. Where you only get involved, the areas where we have, for example, the vital government installations, areas that I know of a security component, where we have big hotels, banks, because in this, much as KCCA is there, but we need to engage the stakeholders who are there. We have buildings where the owners do not really want these borders. And we shall not force that we must put a stage as per this. No. This is something that is coming after someone has already put in some money to put such a building. So in case the cyclists are to operate from there, we need a consent from that person too. So these processes are running concurrently because we have enough personnel that are doing it. And at the end of it all, borders will have to be tasked to move to the various stages that will be allocated. It is KCCA that will allocate, and they will allocate randomly from the data they have. We are trying to limit chances of extortion. You know, borders have been victims of these processes. The cyclists have really been victims. Their own leaders are extorting them. Our personnel are extorting them. So we are trying to look for a way that we really limit the levels of extortion. This is how the process will move very fast. Because wherever they hear that there is a coin to pay, it becomes really hard.
It becomes a challenge, and thankfully that you have realized that there are some elements of extortion, and it's good to see that the Office of the Resident City Commissioner is working hard with the KCCA to streamline these processes. Now, another security concern, a big one in Kampala, especially your office, Kampala Central, is the problem of children who find themselves in a street situation, what most people refer to as street children. There was an operation by KCCA a week ago or so, where a lot of street children were removed from the city. But as we speak today, they are back. And so the question is, what is the Resident City Commissioner, the Office of the RCC and KCCA doing to ensure that this is no longer a challenge? Because it seems like now it's a problem that is continuing to disturb the relevant authorities here in our city.
One, when you look at the dynamics of how these children find themselves on the street, it is really alarming. It's not that really they are coming to families that are handicapped. No. These are people who are coming from around, from the statistics we have, there are people there are kids who are coming from around 2 sub-counties in Napak. Some people, when they are in Central this way, and they hear of the word Napak, and they hear the issue of Karamoja region, they think this is the worst area to live in. But when you're to compare Napak and all other Karamoja districts, I would say Napak is the pearl of Karamoja. Why are they really coming? So we have so many questions about them. One, we are thinking that we have people who are ill about government, and they say, the president is saying government is reaching, we are approaching the middle income status. They're saying, no, this can't happen. Some of them are used just to get money. You have seen people taking pictures on the streets, doing what? We have handbag NGOs that are earning from these street kids, and they are able to facilitate them. Come this way. Come to the transport sector. If someone is bringing these kids from as far as Karamoja, because I would say, why are we not having kids born within Kampala? Are all Kampala families rich? They are not. Absolutely they are not. And we have families in Uganda where they even have 1 meal per day, but none of the kids is on the street. But these are kids who are coming, and they are coming from families that are capable of really providing food. But they are finding themselves on the street. It is because the racket is quite big. And this is now no longer something we are looking at as something very simple. Whoever is involved, we are now saying this is human trafficking. We shall not get to know any nitty-gritty. This is purely human trafficking. Some people think that human trafficking is taking you abroad. No, no, no. It can't happen in this country, just like it is happening on the streets. Did you know that all these streets are gazetted within themselves, so that they know that I'm the one owning this street and I'm the one to deploy? And they have become a really challenge that these days, if you don't have a coin to give, you either receive an abuse, they'll spit on you, and the clothes that they have that they try to wipe your window with, they normally have sand at the other end. So if you don't give, she turns the sand. Are these the people really we are to live with? Someone handcuffed really begging, can they do that? So this is something that is a security concern, and we are really aware. We are already in plans to handle it. I know it will get done.
What are some of those plans?
It will get done. One,
KCCA have tried, they have really tried to, I had the honor of having and privilege of having a guest from KCCA here who told us that they are removing them from the streets and are planning to rehabilitate them, to give them even skills and rehabilitate them with their families. But it seems like they keep coming back.
KCCA has been having a challenge too. They have been rescuing them, because normally this is not arrest or what. They are rescue missions. So they have been rescuing them from the streets. But where to put them? But here comes, government has put in a hand. They have built a rehabilitation center in Karamoja. It is in Koblin. And whoever is got now is taken to Koblin. Government is planning also to have engagements with the companies, such that a few who really come from around can be rehabilitated from there. Then we have another one in Semuto now that is put in place. So I think having put all these centers and having provided funds, normally the feeding becomes a problem for KCCA. But now it has been addressed by government, and in case any rescue mission is done again, we have where to put them. However, this cannot stop it. The issue is to break down the racket, the whole racket, that is the whole syndicate that is in this child trafficking. And our security agencies are all put on alert. They are all active now in the field. We shall put this one to zero. We shall put it down.
Because it seems like the only way now is to hamper these, to curtail these businesses, these racketeers that are pushing this business forward.
Actually, of recent, we received information of the transport agencies that are really in this. We have engaged them time immemorial that please, this is really bad. In case a child is to come to Kampala, let that child at least have an LC letter. A child who is moving without an elder, and you're bringing them. However, they have been very hesitant because for them they are money-minded. We are saying from now onwards, we track you down, get you that you are a transport agent involved in this, let the license be withdrawn, because this is the only way we can curtail these businesses. And I know, at time to come, these things will be, it will be history in Kampala.
Hopefully so, because a lot of leaders have been saying that for a long time, but we seem to be curtailed by the same problems that curtail the city dwellers in this city. Now, very quickly, we are going to touch the issue of human trafficking, especially when it comes to labor companies in the city. What is your say on that, and what is the office of the RCC doing to prevent human trafficking in the city?
I think when it comes to human trafficking, we have been seeing these kids and then join it with the human trafficking or the labor agencies. We have several of them that are not even licensed in Kampala. We have several of them who use these media houses and they pretend to be in Kampala. However, most of them have ended up extorting our citizens, and the issue is very alarming. I don't think I have any police station in Kampala that is not having about beyond 20 cases of this. So what we are doing, we have already started inspecting them. We have called upon them, whoever is working in Kampala must register with us, and from now onwards they are to file returns like how we are doing for firearms. You know, this government is very robust. When it comes to a firearm, you only hear an escape of a firearm once in a while from private companies because we are really monitoring them. Now, how about the lives of our citizens? A firearm is not more useful to a life of a citizen. This is where we are going to become so hard on them, and we have already started the operations. We already have some at hand, and whoever we get as of now, the license goes, in case you're licensed. Then those who do not have, automatically you'll be charged directly. And I think with the penalties, we have talked to our agencies. You know, we have been having a problem that these people have a lot of money. Because someone who has not worked for this money picks from several people and then runs away with it, closes the office the following day. If he is picked with our lower agencies, picked at a police station, he's able to pay a small bribe. However, we have warned our agencies, our officers, and we have talked to them on how to charge them. So whoever falls prey of this will now be answerable to it, because we can no longer see our citizens losing money, losing lives, because where you're taking them, some of them are taking them simply to sell organs. We have seen so many cases, and now we are coming up, we are saying, we are to monitor you. Whoever is operating must file returns on a monthly basis such that we are able to monitor. How many have you taken? Do you have this? Do you have this? I think in this way we shall be able. The other loophole now that we have is to be in touch with you, our fourth agent, our fourth estate. How are these companies really coming to advertise from all media houses and are not licensed? They don't have permits. So I think this is where we are going to get in touch with you, that they'll have to be authorized as they bring their adverts. They'll need to have an authorization for them to proceed. Otherwise, for them, when they bring business, most of you have been just advertising. And most of them are in houses. They're in people's houses. They are not known anywhere. Some of them are handbag. They'll say we have a labor agents, but it is a handbag agents. Yes, you pay this money, find this one at this point, do this, and that is the cartel.
But isn't it also a problem of integrity? Because, like you've rightly stated, some of these agencies are licensed, and so if they bring to you an advert from a licensed agency, and yet what this licensed agency is doing is propagating human trafficking, then
but I'll tell you, none of the media houses has ever asked for a license from these agencies. To be honest, have you ever? Even Family TV has never. So this is just to call upon you to be a little critical too, as you help us in this. That as they come, are they really authentic agencies? Then those that are licensed, we have our own mechanism that we have drafted, that we have designed to monitor them. I think you have already seen the Minister of Internal Security saying from now onwards, whoever is going abroad for work will have to be checked before. So we must get your health certificate before, get to know. So in case something happens, we know whom to handle. And we already have your background. But some people have been, one time, so happened I was going to Nairobi. I left with so many of the youth. You know, at times these are things we don't take in interest in. You sit in a bus, but you don't mind about the demographic patterns of the bus. How many men you have, women, the age groups. So, but I was a little sensitive. So many girls. And we reached a point, and all these girls jumped out.
At the same time?
At the same time. So a lady who was next to me, I tried to inquire, she was like, no. Did you see the lady who was seated next to the conductor? That yes. That this is the lady who brings them around here. And from here, they can proceed smartly to the Arabic countries. Oh, so I was like, I had to stop in the next center, come back, do some bit of inquiries. And I think that has even stopped now. I've helped government and that has stopped. So now I think they have other routes. But people should get keen interest in this. Where are you sending your child? And two, the money that is being conned from these people is money that can really start a small business that can keep you moving. Recently, when I was familiarizing myself with the PDM, when I tried to talk to the communities, Uganda is not yet there. Some people were telling me, Afande, for us we just need 300,000. These are now chapati makers. And I was trying to see how feasible is it. He was saying 300, every day you'll ask for 10,000 and this business will never stop. I'm capable of making 10,000 every day. So if you can make 300,000 in a month at 300, how about the 4 million that has been cheated from you? I think we need to think back before we plan to go. But as we go, I'm not stopping people to go. Let's use agencies that are really licensed.
Definitely, and you've touched on a discussion that still leaves Ugandans confused a bit, and that's the program that is called PDM, the Parish Development Model.
Yeah.
And as a Deputy Resident City Commissioner, we first of all, right now, the rollout of the Parish Development Model is on a halt. Yes. Because Uganda Bureau of Statistics first advised government that before we roll out the program, let's first find out who the actual beneficiaries of this program are going to be. Let's first understand and see the actual data, whether the data is consistent with what is on ground. So what is your say on Parish Development Model? Will it work here in Kampala?
Personally, I commend the National Bureau of Statistics. We have had so many projects. We had the Youth Livelihood Program, we have had UWEP, we have had NADS, we have had OWC, but who have been the actual beneficiaries? You'll get a general view for all these projects is that the actual beneficiaries are not the ones who have been receiving this. Now the president says, this is the baby we have at hand. Much as these programs have moved Uganda step to a certain step. Recently I was seeing a celebration for coffee. Uganda has moved a step in coffee. It is now ranked 8th in the whole world. And people are saying we are not moving. So much as they have built on each other, because they have been coming in different phases, we now have this. We started with NADS at a district level. We saw that the gap between the district and the last beneficiary is so big that by the time the money reaches the last beneficiary, it is too little to start anything. We said no, NADS to the sub-counties now. That is when we came with the sub-county coordinators. We again saw that the procurement processes, everything that goes with this, the last beneficiary still doesn't get it. So in NDP3, they are saying, let's extend further. In government structures, the first administrative unit or the first personnel we have is a parish chief who is paid by government. I don't think we have anybody below or above, because it can be first if you're starting from the LC, or last if you're starting from the head of state. But we don't have anybody beyond that. We are saying this time, if really the targeted people do not get this money, then I think they should provide their keys for their houses to the RCC to move with them and put it at the doors. Because we are saying this is the last unit government has. If it is the last unit, you know everybody who works within that parish. The chairperson LC2 is voted by you, who is the chairperson for the committee, for the parish development committee. The parish chief stays with you, is the only government worker we have. The only. So we are trying to reduce the bureaucracies that have been happening. However, what is the challenge with this? People have been so wise. In some areas, when the MPs were moving, they found out that all the parish development model circles that had been created had been, they were a white elephant. They were non-existent. So most of them, they could collect friends, this one. At times they could even just pick your ID that we are registering you in a circle. I tried this with some few parishes in Kampala here. You could just, I asked for this, for the data. You could call and ask him, who is the chairperson of your circle? That I don't know, maybe they picked the ID. So with this, we just got to know that where the money was going would be like some of the programs. I think I've had the same challenges with the Nyoga. I'm already on a very big hunt with some people who ate this money. So this time we are saying from the word go, we want to see this money to the last person.
But how feasible is the parish development model? And I ask this in terms of, the reason we are talking about this, we are looking at security concerns here in Kampala, and one of the security concerns is economic security.
Yeah.
So how feasible is parish development model in terms of getting the money, like you said, to the actual beneficiary, but two, whether this beneficiary will actually use this money for the intended purpose that government has set at hand? What mechanisms are there in place to ensure that the person who receives this money does not end up using it for either paying school fees or buying food at home?
Why other programs have been probably not to a very big success is that we have been planning on table. You say, for example, OWC, we shall give out.
That's Operation Wealth Creation.
Yes, Operation Wealth Creation. We shall give out animals in this region. Because, you know, we faced Uganda. We mapped out what economic activities are really viable in certain regions. So you're saying we are giving coffee to people in Buganda region. We are giving animals to people in this region. However, the people you are giving, you have not ascertained whether they have land. You have not ascertained whether they are really capable of handling a particular project. Here comes a parish development model where we are saying the problems of the parish are not known by the government. They are best known by the person who is on ground. Is it really the startup that is missing? Someone wants to start up? Is it a road that is hindering that people are producing? For example, in certain areas, rural areas, same for Kampala, that is a totally different from other areas. In certain rural areas, there are areas where people produce milk, but the roads are poor. Are you getting this fund, this 100 million, use 10 of it to maintain a feeder road as a parish, such that you facilitate the economic development of the area? This is what we are going for. We want a one-stop center parish. Is it a healthy center that is really leaking? Does it really need us to move and go to bend before government that we want money for one iron sheet? You know the procurement challenges? So this is where we want the parish to come up with a development plan for the parish. If it is a startup, and you're saying that the parish development model, the parish development committee, chaired by the chairperson LC2, really realizes that the problem of this parish is startup capital. Can you really get some families, give them a startup? Like I told you that, for example, Chapat makers told us that we don't need all that. Why are you giving us all that money? You give me 300,000. You don't group us. You give me in person 300,000. And you see whether I don't start up, whether I don't sustain my business. So these are things we have been missing because we have been just putting them in one basket, that they are all to do this. But this time, they are to decide on what they do. And on what they do, they are to do something that you're willing to do, that you feel will bring you out of poverty. So in this manner, we say, once we have implemented it for 1, 2, 3 years, and we are really not seeing results, who will be to blame? Will people still continue pointing fingers at government? You know, the problem with Africans is using this finger. Not recalling that as you point this to government, 3 of the fingers are pointing at you. So there are so many pointing at you that probably you could be the problem.
And talking about points, what's your final point or final remark as we close to the populace in Kampala? People who either dwell in Kampala via work or who live in Kampala.
For people who dwell in Kampala, 1, I want to thank you. These people have given me a very warm welcome in Kampala. Very warm. I'm still getting acquainted with the city. However, everything is moving on. 1, for us, we shall ensure that Kampala is safe and peaceful. I think since I came, I've not had any demonstration. Recently, I had one organized, but when I talked to the traders, they were like, for that matter, we shall call it off, because we are able to solve things on a round table. So I call upon you for peace. 1, increase security in your areas. Civilian surveillance is far much better than ours. The reports we get them from civilians. So be very vigilant. Where you have challenges, just approach us. We are ready and we are available at your disposal for support.
Thank you so much, Mr. Yasin Dide, who is the Deputy Resident City Commissioner for Kampala Central, and we have been looking at a myriad of issues which touch and concern Kampala, from the registration and census of border operators and owners to the plight of street children, the children who find themselves in a street situation, and then the plight of people who are victims but also perpetrators of human trafficking, and then economic security, starting with the likes of programs like the Parish Development Model. Thank you for staying with us for all this time, and I know that if you either live in Kampala or if you work in Kampala, you've got yourself some solutions as far as some of the discussions we have had are concerned, and in some situations now you found, for instance, that security starts with us as civilians maintaining that powerful surveillance. And then also I'm sure you have more questions on many issues, and that's why at Issues at Hand we continue to have these conversations so together as a community and as family we can find solutions to the problems of our time. Once again, thank you for joining us. I'd like to thank Mr. Yasin for joining us, and we shall see each other again on Friday. God richly bless you.